I'm Gabriel Hernandez from Ornado Middle School News, and I'm here to tell you about the story of the actual first Thanksgiving. It was 20 years before the Thanksgiving we all know and celebrate. The people here in El Paso claim it was the actual first Thanksgiving. And actually here in front of the Juan de Oñate statue, the El Paso citizens built to honor him as the founder and the main character of the actual first Thanksgiving. Stay tuned to learn more about the story. I'm Gabriel Hernandez again, here from Ornado News.
Story tells us that there was a new Spanish conquistador by the name of Don Juan de Oñate y Salazar, who was born in the country now known as Mexico on 1550. His father, Don Cristobal de Oñate, was a discoverer and developer of the rich Zacatecas mines in Mexico, where he was a wealthy and influential citizen. Juan de Oñate married Doña Isabela de Tolosa, who was a granddaughter of the Spanish conquistador Hernán Cortés and great-granddaughter of the last Aztec emperor Montezuma II. Oñate was known as an explorer, a conquistador, and the first governor of New Mexico. He died in Seville, Spain on June 3, 1626. In 1598, Don Juan de Oñate won over the other Spaniards' permission from the King of Spain to lead an expedition to the north of Mexico to colonize the region now known as New Mexico. The objective of the expedition was to expand Spain's territory in the Americas and to look for silver and gold. Oñate's expedition started at the town of Santa Barbara, Chihuahua, Mexico, around March 10, 1598. However, instead of following the usual route following the Rio Conchos all the way north and northeast all the way until it reaches the Rio Grande, and then following the Rio Grande west and northeast as earlier explorers have done, Oñate decided to cut across the Chihuahuan Desert instead. The expedition reached the Rio Grande through the Pass of the North, or in Spanish, El Paso del Norte, what is now known as the city of El Paso, Texas, on April 20, 1598.
Juan de Oñate's large expedition included a total of 400 men, including 140 soldiers plus their families, 10 Catholic missionaries, 7,000 to 8,000 livestock, including cattle, pigs, sheep, and goats, and 83 carretas. Carretas are animal-pulled, wooden-wheeled carriages. Juan de Oñate's entire expedition created a 4-mile-long line of people through this very desert. He cut through this very Chihuahuan desert instead of following the usual path through the rivers like earlier expeditions. Imagine, in 1598 there were no stores, no roads, and no towns through the desert. Most importantly, there was no water. Nothing. I'm here in El Paso, Texas, at the actual historic site where Juan de Oñate crossed the Rio Grande and held his first Thanksgiving Mass. Let's get right down to it. Gabriel Hernandez reporting from Ornado Middle School News, and I am here in the historical site where Juan de Oñate actually crossed the Rio Grande. Here behind the fence you can find the Rio Grande, and I'm here in the monument which reads, on May 4th, 1598, Don Juan de Oñate, Adelantado and Captain General, Governor of New Mexico, first named El Paso del Rio del Norte. Through this old pass, the lowest snow-free feasible route from the Atlantic to the Pacific through the Rocky Mountains, extend today the great trunk lines of the telegraph and railroad. The city of El Paso marks the place and perpetuates the name. When they arrived at the banks of the Rio Grande, Juan de Oñate and his expedition rested for a total of 10 days. They swam, they fished, and they hunted. On April 30th, 1598, he requested the friars to perform a mass Thanksgiving, and they crossed the Rio Grande. When they crossed the Rio Grande, they celebrated with a great feast, including duck, geese, and deer. So, behind this very fence was the Rio Grande, and the actual first Thanksgiving on April 30th, 1598, after 10 days of resting, fishing, and hunting. Juan de Oñate had a great feast 23 years before the Pilgrims and the Wampago Indians in Plymouth, 1621 November. In conclusion, April 30th, 1598 was the day of the real first Thanksgiving behind these gates in the Rio Grande. Juan de Oñate found these very El Paso states 23 years before the Pilgrims and the Wampago Indians at Plymouth on November 16th, 21st. All the facts prove that the first Thanksgiving was celebrated in El Paso, Texas on April 30th, 1598, instead of the one we all know in Plymouth, Massachusetts in 1621. This reporter's conclusion is that El Paso should be commemorized for holding the first Thanksgiving instead of the one we all know and celebrate. But is El Paso, Texas getting the credit it deserves for the first Thanksgiving? Only time will tell. I'm Gabriel Hernandez, investigative reporter for NATO Middle School News, signing out.